the ideal framework for a one-call close. When you're on a sales call, every word counts 100%. Now, here's where the amateurs differ from the professionals. The professionals, they actually know where they're at within that conversation. Within that sales call, we have the framework, which is called the ideal framework. This is our roadmap to the conversation. This is our roadmap to knowing where we're at in the conversation. Professionals, they always know where they're at in the call. They know they know what the right question to ask, at which phase of the call. They know when to move that conversation forward and eventually pivot past the discovery and into the close. Okay. So now here at SICK what we use is called the ideal framework, like I mentioned. And this stands for introduction, discovery, echo, alignment, and lock it in. So let's start with the first letter, I, introduction. This needs to be a strong introduction. The introduction is where you're going to have an opportunity to really set the stage. You're going to have a chance to establish your authority, because once that prospect, they understand that you know what you're talking about and you're in the position to help them, they're going to respect you more. And it's a psychological thing that puts you in a place of power and authority for that person to listen to you. This is where you're also going to you're going to frame the call. You're going to let this prospect know how the call is going to go, what to expect during the call. Let them know you're going to ask them a few questions. And then if you can help them, you're going to help them. Let me give you a quick example of how the introduction may go. So let's take this as if this was an inbound lead and you are the closer. The way this conversation goes is very simple. It's hey, Mr. Prospect, I'm glad that you could join me today. My name is Roland, senior advisor of our team. It looks like you wanted to get some more information on XYZ. And they may say, yep. So they say, yes. Great, Mr. Prospect. I'm glad we're here. So how the way this call is going to go is I'm going to ask you some questions, figure out what you're looking for, what kind of help you need. If we're able to help you, then we can move forward. But if we aren't, then I will point you in the right direction as much as I can. Sound good? And then they're going to agree to that. Right there. That's a quick introduction. And then you're going to pivot. Okay. We pivot into the discovery. Okay. Discovery phase. Now, this discovery phase is going to be your most important part of the call. This is where you get all the information you need on what that prospect is looking for. So you know how to pitch them your services or your product or whatever it is you're selling, your SaaS. Now, this part is going to be very important to understand. Let me give you the best advice. During the discovery phase, you are not selling anything. This is your chance to understand. The key to this moment right here in the discovery is to find out everything you need to know that is going to help your prospect. And what do I mean by that? It doesn't matter what kind of industry they're in, what they're looking for, B2B, B2C. What it is going to be something simple. Find out what they currently do. Okay. Hey, Mr. Prospect. Okay. So you're here for XYZ. And you're looking, and your goal is to, what is your goal? And you find out where they're currently at. Oh, yes, I'm right here. I'm doing this. And my goal is to be here. Okay. That could be with fitness. I'm at 300 pounds, but my goal is to be at 200. Hey, my business is at 6 figures, but my goal is to be at 7 figures. My business isn't too automated, but my goal is to have it automated. So it's always going to be something that they are on the phone for you for, and they look at you as the expert. That's something I'm going to ask. Let me give you a series of questions, okay? And then we'll talk about why this is important. Some of the questions that you're going to ask in the discovery is as follows. What do they currently do? What do they want to do? How long have they been doing what they're doing? How they've been doing it? How long have they been thinking about change? What stopped them from making change? Have they tried other things in the past? What have they tried in the past? What did work? What didn't work? Why didn't it work? Have they known anybody else to try the same thing, but it did work for them? Hey, what's your goals? You also want to be able to contextualize your questions. That way it doesn't sound like a drill. You're not just question. You're having a conversation. Give them a reason to answer. And a quick example of that may be, hey, Mr. Prospect, I understand. Okay, so you guys make about $10,000 a month, but you want to be around 20. Let me ask you, a lot of, just out of curiosity, a lot of people that I talk to, they're okay and they're happy with being at 10,000 a month. What is it about getting to 20,000 a month that's so important to you? Do you see that there? That's a lot different of a question. It's more conversational. So this is a way, there's going to be ways for you to understand, like I said, where they're currently at, where they want to get to, what's been holding them back, what happens if they don't change. And what you do is you're doing a couple things here. Okay. These are the questions that you're going to ask, right? So what you've done here is a few things. You've built up a rapport. You've getting very curious about that person's, their life, their business, whatever it is. And now they're starting to trust you. They're building up that trust even more because you're focused on asking questions. Now, if it was the other way around where you're just telling the person, you're telling the prospect this, you're telling them this, they're not going to hear you. Humans would prefer to hear themselves over anybody else. Okay. Your job is to ask them the right questions to help them work it out in their head. So now they can move forward. Now, another reason why the discovery portion is so important is because, like I mentioned, you're going to ask them everything, but you're going to want to spread that gap between where they currently are and the goal that they have over here. You're going to make that seem so far during that discovery call that you're the bridge. You're the one that's going to be able to connect where they're at to where they want to go. You're that bridge, that vehicle. From that discovery, you're going to find out all of the objections as well. Why they haven't done anything. Oh, because of money. So now you can kind of handle the money issue right away. Well, maybe it wasn't money. Maybe it was the spouse. Maybe it was just timing. Oh yeah, it just wasn't the right time. But you know what? What is the right time? So it's up to you to be able to verbalize that to them and help them get past all of that. That's called pre-handling. During the discovery call, you're going to have a lot of objections come up. Oh yeah, it was money in the past. So now you're going to let them know that it's because they've always thought about money and scarcity is the reason why they're still at where they're at. You can even ask them, over the course of these past X amount of months or X amount of years that you didn't want to move forward, how much money did you think you've lost? How much weight did you think you could have lost? How much better do you think your relationship could have been if you would have moved forward? There's so many different ways. Prospects are holding themselves back. And our job as appointment setters, as closers, is to help them get past that, okay? That's why the discovery is so important. And the other thing about the objections coming up during the discovery call and you being able to pre-handle them, please keep in mind that those objections are still going to come up on the back end when you do ask for the sale. But the good thing about the discovery is this is where you're gathering up all your ammo of how to sell this person. This is how they're going to tell you everything they want. And you're going to be able to structure your pitch based off of what that person needs and wants. Very, very simple stuff. But T is kind of like it's things to remember and you get better with repetition. That's what we're here for at the Sick Lab Tribe, right? Bottom line, when you go through these questions and this discovery, this is where all the gold is. Everything boils down right there to getting all this important information, okay? It's going to boil down to that discovery call. How well did you do in that discovery call? If your discovery call was only like a few minutes, you definitely didn't have enough time to ask all the good questions, to really build up that relationship, or to bring up the pain enough and urgency enough, okay? That sales call, that discovery call is where you have a chance to go back and forth with your prospect and really build in those urgencies, those pain points, those fear of what happens if I don't take action. This is your chance to reframe that prospect's mind and from a procrastinator all the way to being an action taker. It's all in that discovery call. Because at the end of the day, if you don't understand that prospect's pain, you're not going to land the deal. And after the discovery, we move on to the echo. Now, after the D comes the E, from discovery to echo. Let's go. This is the part of the call where you recap and relabel. So you repeat what the prospect said and you summarize it in a label. Okay. Now, how does that look? This is very simple. Okay. This way it goes, for example. Hey, Mr. Prospect, I think I got the big picture now. You're currently here. You're having this problem. So you've tried this over the past couple months, past few years, and nothing seems to work out for you. But you want to get this taken care of because if it doesn't change, then you stand to miss out on X, Y, and Z. Am I missing anything? Your goal is for that prospect to say, you're exactly on point. You're right. You didn't miss anything. Okay. So that's the recap right there. And now it's time to relabel it. Now, what's the relabel? Very simple. Okay. It doesn't matter what industry it is. It doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter what industry at all. It could be fitness. It could be, business coaching. It could be automations. It could be AI sales. It could be SaaS sales. The relabel is always going to be something that's very familiar that labels all that person's problems. The way that goes, some of the examples that it could be. Let's say it's Mr. Prospect. Okay, I get it. I get the big picture. This is where you're at right now. This is where you want to be. You've been trying everything as nothing seems to work. If things don't change, you stand to missing out on X, Y, Z. Am I missing anything? They're going to get into agreement, right? And then you relabel it with, wow, that sounds like an automation problem. That sounds like a sales skills problem. Oh man, that sounds like a systems problem, or that sounds like a marketing problem. If you're selling marketing services, wow, that sounds like a lead generation problem. You know, that sounds like an outbound problem. Like you don't have enough people helping you out. You know, it could be whatever that sale is. That's how that goes. It is, you relabel the problem. And remember, the goal with that is going to be them telling you, yeah, that seems about right. Okay. They're going to be in agreement with you. And from there, we go on to the alignment phase, the A. All right. The alignment phase. This phase of the call is going to be where you let the prospect know how you're going to solve their problems and you show your presentation. There's two parts going to be to the alignment phase. The first phase is going to be the bridge. The bridge is going to be very important because it's almost like a recap and you're going to be bringing up the pain again. Okay. And you're going to be using your prospect's words for it. And then the other portion of that alignment phase is getting a pre-commitment. The pre-commitment is there. So when you show them how you're going to help them, you want that prospect to already be in the mindset that they're going to move forward today. How does this whole script look out, right? Real quick. So the first portion, like I said, you're going to be the bridge. Here it is, 2 sentences. Hey, Mr. Prospect, I'm glad I was able to help you recap and relabel, like you're not going to tell them that, but hey, I'm glad I was able to figure things out and now we're on the same page. The good news is that we can actually help you with this. All of those XYZ problems you're having and it's preventing you from getting these XYZ goals completed. And, we can definitely help you out with that. So you're not XYZ having these problems anymore. So that's the bridge, letting them know that you're going to help them. Okay. Second portion of this alignment phase is going to be actually the pre-commitment. So the pre-commitment, because I want to be in alignment with you. If we can help you, are you going to be working with us? Right. That's the alignment phase. That's the pre-commitment. So the way that works is, before I show you what we can do and how we're going to help you, if everything makes sense, and it solves these problems that you're having, are you ready to take action today? So that's the question that you're going to ask. That's called getting the pre-commitment. Are you going to be ready to move forward today? This or that. And then once they say yes, you actually start the presentation. But what if they ask, hey, what's the price? That's definitely going to come up. It does come up before you do a presentation. And the way you get past that is very simple. It's called an ARP. You acknowledge, respond, and pivot. The way that looks is very simple. Hey, Mr. Prospect, I understand how much does that cost is actually a good question. And I understand why you're asking that. I would have asked the same thing myself as well. But just to verify that you see everything that's covered and we can actually help you and that everything makes sense, let me go ahead and show you what we're thinking of doing. And that way we can talk about pricing. You're definitely going to see it in the slide. Is that fair? So right there, you've done a couple things. You've acknowledged the objection. You responded to it and you pivoted to a question of, is that fair? Okay. And then why'd you ask, is that fair? The reason why you ask, is that fair, is it's not just some courtesy. It's a subconscious courtesy where that person, your prospect, and human nature makes us want to be fair with other people. So, that person is going to be, yes, that's fine. And then you pivot into the presentation. That presentation is going to be dependent upon, whichever company you're in. But the framework is always going to be the same as a setter and as a closer, like I mentioned previously. There's always going to be an introduction where you're building authority and framing the call. There's always going to be a discovery where you're gathering all the good information that you need in order to close the deal and in order to pitch the prospect the right way. There's always going to be an echo where you're recapping and relabeling exactly what they told you, but in a summarized form. Okay. And alignment. That alignment phase is going to be very important because if you guys are not aligned, there's always going to be an alignment phase. And if you're never aligned with whoever your prospect is, then there's no agreement. You're not seeing eye to eye, and people want to do business with people that think just like them. Okay. Before we move on to L in the whole ideal framework, there's one more important part of the alignment that you got to get before you say anything about price. Now, what pros call it is we call it a temperature check. Now, this right here is a quick pulse right after the presentation and right before you drop the price, okay? Don't ever say the price without getting the temperature check. Now, what the temperature check is, it's going to be there right at that point after the presentation, so you can kind of gauge where your prospect is at emotionally, whether they're aligned, excited, or still unsure. It's simple, but it's powerful. So let me go ahead and give you an example of how this whole conversation plays out and what does it sound like, okay? It's going to be very simple. It goes like this. Before we talk about next steps, I just want to make sure that we're aligned and everything I told you about is exactly what you're looking for. By now, you see how this XYZ product service solution is going to be able to help you with XYZ problem. So that way you don't have to feel whatever that cost of inaction is. So you want to bring up your solution, where they're currently at, and the pain of what is it going to be if they don't take action. By now, you can see how this all helps, so you don't have to feel this way, XYZ. After I say the whole by now, right, this is what you want to say. You want to make sure, after you state all of that, that you go back into a question. So you're going to pivot into a question and then get agreement. So you guys want to be in alignment again. And once you say that whole by now, you see how this program is going to help you XYZ with these problems, so you don't have to deal with this anymore. So your next 6 months doesn't have to be like your last 6 years. Is this pretty much aligned with what you're thinking? And it does sound like it's pretty realistic for you now. And then you sit there in silence and they're going to say, oh, yeah. Now that's exactly what I was thinking. And then from there you go, great. Just out of curiosity, what is it about? What would you say you're most excited about with XYZ program or the service we're going to provide? So now what you're doing right there is you're letting them sell themselves about every reason. And remember, we talked about it before, the power of the pause, right? Your best friend is going to be that mute button where you're going to be letting them just like talk. And then they're going to say, oh yeah, I can see how this is really going to help me. But check it out. Here's another pro move when it comes to the whole temperature check. You can use temperature checks while you're going through the presentation and really hype them up. What you're learning right now is like a lot of foundational stuff. I'm actually teaching you quite of advanced stuff as well. But we will get a masterclass going to where we can break this all down. And really, like once you get the mastery of just the framework, we can implement like real skill into your sales process. And I'll teach you some things that will get you like a high 60% close rate. 100, no, it can't be 100, but what I'm saying is the close rate is going to be ridiculous because I know a lot of different techniques. To get back on point, remember, this is going to be your temperature check. They're going to sell themselves on everything. Well, let them talk more and just agree with them. You can even future pace it and have them visually, and you can have them visually think and be like, yeah, I know, I get it. Exactly. That's exactly why we're here to help you. Now imagine what 6 months is going to look like. Imagine what 12 months is going to look like. And then let them imagine that. So that's a part of the alignment phase and really getting that temperature check. It could give you an opportunity to handle objections again as well. But we'll get into that, okay? So that's your temperature check right there. It's quick, it's simple, and it keeps you in control. Once they start confirming about what they like the most, you know that they're going to be emotionally bought in. Right there is going to be the perfect moment to transition a price. Now, how do you talk about price? Very simple. Here's the transition. All right, great. I'm glad that we're completely aligned. This is really going to help you out. I'm really excited for you to get started. So now that we're clear on what works and that this is exactly what you're looking for, let's go over what the next steps would be to get you enrolled today. That's where you start to think about price. This is where your energy has to come up because there may be some objections that you're going to have to handle. There's going to be some fears, maybe some partner objections, some spouse objections, some kind of uncertainty. So it's always going to be smoke screens, right? Now, what if during that temperature check, they say, oh yeah, no, I have some questions. This doesn't seem like it may be right for the right fit. So right there, you go back into the presentation mode. Now that wasn't a no. Any objection is not a no. It's just like uncertainty. So the way you handle that is ask them. Just ask simple questions. This is a part of the conversation. Okay, yeah, let me know what's a little bit off for you. And then you just listen to what they're saying. Ah, okay, I get it. Maybe it's just like some kind of misunderstanding. But the thing is, it's more about like the communication and something being miscommunicated or misunderstood because let's face it, there's a few things. Number one, us as humans are not perfect in our communication, and communication is a skill that we always got to master over the years, right? A part of that communication is number two. Maybe it was misunderstood the way that the person heard it on the receiving end. So that's why when it comes to like objection handling and, rejections, there's nothing to take personal. You just need some kind of clarity that you guys are in alignment in your communication. I guarantee you 99% of the time, relationships are broken, partnerships are broken, all because of a miscommunication. So if you can fix that communication, business is ready to be done. All right. So now that we have that, let's go into the L phase. The last phase of the call is going to be the L, locking it in. And this is the L, lock it in phase. So when it comes to locking down a deal, this is where everything boils down to. All of the repetitions that you put in, the hours of training that you put in, it all boils down to this portion of the call. Because what happens on this call is either they're going to say yes or they're going to have objections. But what I want you to be aware of, objections come up regardless. You can have the most amazing discovery call and pre-handle some objections so they don't come up. Guarantee you they're always going to come up. And the reason why, it's not because of you. It's not because of your skills. It's because humans have something in them called a fight and flight. Where if they're trying something new, if there's like a little bit of a risk, something within themselves is going to tell them, hey, maybe I need to back up. It's going to start like a risk assessment within them. I need you to keep in mind during this portion of the call, the reasons that they give you why they can't move forward after you drop the price is because it's all a smokescreen, right? It's going to be money issues, spousal issues, timing. I was just looking, whatever it is, just understand that's a smokescreen. None of it's real. None of those objections are real. Because if somebody wants help, they're going to say yes. They're going to find a way to make it happen, right? But what it is, one thing you need to keep in mind while working with prospects, you're changing lives, is that they're all going to have some kind of smokescreen, some kind of gut feeling within themselves. And that's up to you to help them handle those. What it all boils down to, all those objections, it boils down to usually fear and uncertainty in themselves. Okay? Self-disbelief. And you just help them walk through it. Now, we could definitely go through all of the objections, how to handle them, but that's going to be it for a different module. This is more just like the 101 phase, getting you the whole framework of the call. And that way you know how to navigate the waters first, okay? Once you know how to navigate the waters, we can worry about the waves, anything that comes our way. But like I was saying, lock it in phase is where a lot of rookies freeze up and they get scared to ask for the money. Okay. Because like I just mentioned, all those objections and everything, right? So with that being said, if you're following the ideal framework, you have that roadmap, you've put in the reps, you've done a lot of training. This is your time to shine where objections are not going to be an issue for you at all. Okay. Asking for the money is not going to be an issue for you at all. Overall, the proper way to handle objections when they come up is to isolate them. Make sure that's the only objection so you can handle them. So that way you don't have to handle multiple objection. You can handle them all at once. Very simple transaction of words. What it looks like is this. So let's say they gave you the price objection. So the way it looks like is this. Hey, Mr. Prospect, other than the price, I get that, pricing is going to issue and money's an issue. Outside of the money, is that your only concern or would you be willing to move forward today? Then you wait. If they say yes, then help them solve the money issue. Oh yeah, no, not a problem. Money, we deal with that all the time. You're not the first one, trust me. And that's the good thing is we have systems aligned. However, the thing I can't help out with is commitment. You always, at the end of every close, you want to get that commitment again. But the trick is you need to know and always remember in your head that those objections that they're giving you is the exact reason why they need to be on the phone with you and the exact reason why they need to move forward today. And what I mean by that is no money. They don't have no money. They can't afford it, right? They're on that call with you because you're going to help them improve that capacity and capability of making money. Just remember this, whatever objections come around, the main factor to this is going to be knowing that no matter what the objection is, it always comes down to some kind of insecurity, disbelief, or, just fear of failure. Now, once you handle all the objections, we're definitely going to go into like weekly objection handling and stuff like that. So stay tuned. But once you handle all the objections, you go ahead and close them again. Hey, so definitely we can help you out with that. If it's only the money, what we could do is we could definitely help you out with that part. That part's the easy part. The financing part, that's easy. What we can't help out with is the commitment side. Would you say that you're pretty committed if we can figure out the financing? So that's your trial close right there again. And if they say yes, let's go. Then it's off to the races. You go collect your cash. Outside of that, you answer all the questions. Hey, so do you have any other questions? Nope, no more questions. All right, so looks like we're ready to move forward. How would you like to go about that? I mean, should I send you a link or shoot you an email? And you're going to want to collect cash on the phone. Okay. So that's what locking it in is about, is dropping the price, letting them know the price, and then handling the objections, and then turn around and close them again. There's some pretty advanced techniques in one call closing, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but not much time once you have the right training. So remember this, at the end of the day, the L phase of the call and this whole ideal call right here is all about holding a framework, knowing where you're at in the call. That call is supposed to give you every single piece of information that's needed in order to close that prospect. Okay, they're going to talk about everything. And at the end of the day, keep it simple. Stay practicing, get in all your reps, and live with conviction where you know that your product or service is going to help this person. If you have those things right there, objection handling, the discovery portion, the presentation portion, all of this is a piece of cake. And all you got to do is just collect that check. So that's the ideal close. Introduction, discovery, echo, align, and lock it in. But when you master this right here, when you master the ideal framework, you are never going to be worried about another sales call again. It's going to seem very fluid to you, like second nature, once you master this call framework. And guaranteed, you'll never feel overwhelmed again. You will know exactly where you are in the conversation, what questions to ask, and where to lead the conversation to take that prospect from the moment you guys get on the phone together all the way to the finish line where you're collecting cash. But remember, every call that follows the ideal framework always wins. Let's get to work.